Right, welcome, guys. Friday. So we've had a pretty good week this week. I've been pretty happy. It's not been our easiest week, but obviously I think, like I've been explaining, markets have been consolidating a lot, and obviously that makes it tricky because obviously there is no real overall direction. It's hard to obviously navigate where everything is heading. But obviously, you guys know, let's get down to the obviously normal routine. Let's have a look to see where the dollar is, and then obviously we can, anticipate what is happening and what has happened. And so we obviously had, non-farm payroll have this pump up. And then, we've had basically, nothing. I mean, if you think that this was the non-farm payroll candle here, and obviously that's what we're trading within. So I've just letting everybody in still. We got some stragglers. So yeah, we're obviously in this kind of zone here. All right. Now, one of the major things, well, there's two major things actually, and it was one was what I was playing off yesterday was this support here. And then we've got this 97 area here. All right, so we've got this 97 area here. All right, so idea is I don't think there is enough negative data to push dollar below this area, and obviously wish I'd have been a bit more patient on gold and obviously held it because that would have been a dream. But obviously, yeah, I come out and I was really happy. We got some good profit out of that yesterday, and that's the main thing. So. Reason for obviously being very pro buying the dollar this morning is because we're above this 97 level, which as you can see, since obviously that non-farm payroll data come out, we've struggled to stay above it. We've rejected it multiple times, but actually we actually broke through it. So we had this nice beast candle yesterday, it engulfed everything. That's what took everything the right way. We were still in GBP USD, so that was very nice. But we obviously, always err on the side of caution. One thing that I think is quite interesting that the moves on gold that we've had, all right, these huge moves. We've been heading the right direction. And two, nine times out of ten, we've been closed. All of these huge moves here, our charts have been closed. So that's obviously that to me is a good sign. I know obviously lots of you, did message me yesterday, like saying, "Oh, I've missed out," but actually, imagine if it had gone the other way. So I like to, yeah, I do like to, navigate around, news and navigate around crazy times. Why did this happen? I had a lot of questions about why is it happened. It's more the dollar, which has obviously been the driver. There's been a huge, lag. My anticipation was obviously, brilliant non-farm payroll. They got a lower unemployment rate. That's obviously a good thing. One big thing in every currency is employment. That's one of the main things you got to look at, as well as growth, and then obviously interest rates. Those are the three kind of main things that we've got to look at. And obviously one of those main things absolutely flying is the growth, sorry, the jobs, employment, and obviously that should instill some confidence into whatever currency is coming into. We had it, I think, similar. I don't know if it was yeah, I think it was January. We had it for CAD. There, obviously, interest rate drop unemployment rate drop 0.2. So CAD flew. We should have had a very similar reaction for the dollar, but it's not happened. Now, there's obviously lots of rumors about, why it pumped yesterday. One is because there is, they were looking at being quite aggressive and obviously reducing interest rates two more times this year. Well, the anticipation of that happening is, not as high, so that's obviously one reason why, other reason why I think tech stocks have been hit quite hard. So certain kind of areas of the stock market have been hit hard. So that obviously brings dollar into becoming a bit of a safe haven, and obviously that coupled up with the optimism, that is the anticipation of obviously why it pumped a bit last night. So let's go through everything this morning. So yields. We obviously had a little nice bit of recovery. Had a bit of a dump off yesterday. We've obviously had this consolidation zone marked off from like beginning of December, where it's kind of in its happy place. We're rejecting the bottom of that, so it's been well worth obviously marking that up. We've had a nice obviously pump to the day. Obviously yields pumping, dollar, stronger. Are we gonna see a bit of a rebound today? We'll wait and see. The only interesting one, like I mentioned, is stock markets. They have absolutely tanked. Let me just have a look where Bitcoin is as well. Yeah, Bitcoin's still obviously trending to the downside. I do think this, 60s are almost 100% going to get hit. But what you got to watch out for, I've noticed it on social media a lot recently. There's a lot of rubbish, flying around about, all this stuff about how BlackRock have sold. I think it's at 188 million Bitcoin, or something like that. Try not to read into it too much, because obviously there is lots of rubbish hype flying around. Um, So yeah, I'm just looking for Bitcoin to kind of bottom out a bit. It isn't going to do this and it'll be gone. It'll stay in and around the area for a while. No different to what it does, at the all-time highs. One touch, two touch, three touch, but bang. So yeah, we've got to obviously be aware of that. Right, looking into what news we've got today. So we've got some GDP for Euro. It's supposed to come in on par. I don't think it's going to be much different, if I'm honest. Europe, you will learn as you start to obviously look at the data. Europe's always on point. Yen's always on point. Aussie's there or thereabouts. It's only the US and the pound which is always seems to create these wild influxes. So yeah, we'll obviously have to wait and see how that one plays out. We've then obviously got the big one, CPI. That's classed as inflation data a bit later on. Due to come in, what was it, year on year, a little bit lower, month on month, about where it is. I think if we come round about where it is, I think that's going to, increase the dollar. We don't want it to come in too high because that means obviously inflation's coming in higher. And obviously, how do they battle inflation? They lower interest rates. So, we obviously want it to come in about where it is, and I think it'll be pretty good. So yeah, that's obviously, we'll be waiting for the half one news to come out. I've tried to rush everything out, this week, a couple of days in the afternoon. Obviously, it's not hurt us, but obviously, I think we can be a bit more patient because markets aren't reacting heavily instantly. So I will be documenting what I'm doing, and I'll probably send the afternoon trades out about quarter to two. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. I want to wait for this data to come out. I want to wait to see how the dollar reacts, and a bit like what happened, on this news, this one here. Let me just get rid of these. and then I'll explain it. So a little bit like what happened here, we obviously had this big pump up, even if we look at it on a 15 minute, we had this big pump up, we can obviously afford to be patient. So that's obviously one thing that we are looking at. Right, let's go through our pairs. So we've got gold here, not triggered yet. This is our, zone. Remember, anywhere in this zone, I'm happy. I'm not pushing it either way, but obviously I just want to, wait and see what, happens here. But yeah, anywhere in this zone, I am happy. So, we can't be looking to buy gold after this big dump, yesterday. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens here. We've then obviously got, I think pound was the next one. It's not quite tapped us. I'm really enjoying trading GBP at the moment. It's been fluid. It's been quite easy. I've been trading it on another account. I've been able to add in, and it's pretty much covered me. No stress. So I have enjoyed trading GBP USD this week. It's been nice and easy. But then you got to look at why is it easy, and it's because pound is so week, and so for example, if we did tap in, I've been doing something like this, layering in, and then obviously all that happens a bit like yesterday. This comes and yeah, but I'd rather do it on GBP because it's a lot slower. It's nicer. It's a trending pair. All right, so as long as we're on the right side of the macros and trend, then we're chilling. So yeah, I've enjoyed obviously trading this, but again, just want it to pop up into this area. You can see there's a lot of liquidity here, so just want us to pop up into this area. Before obviously I'm happy to execute downward position. Euro, similar. Euro's been moving not slowly, but it hasn't been like yesterday. I don't think we had a Euro USD trade. I think we might have done in the morning, but that's it. It hasn't been having these big, moves. Nothing has. And obviously that's the that's why it's been so tricky, but very similar. We've obviously got this liquidity here, want it to pop up in, and then obviously have this move here. Aussie, we are currently in a little bit of drawdown, but again happy. I want this to yeah, wanted it to come into this. We were slightly less aggressive. Yes, yesterday and the day before, so I've tightened it up a tiny bit. But yeah, that one's obviously triggered, so we've also got a nice level of resistance here. Should at least be able to pull this back into this area here. That's what we're targeting here. So that's that one. USDJPY. Happy, we're in a bit of profit. USDJPY has been tough to us this week. We haven't had many triggers. I think we had one yesterday. I closed out early, but yeah, it was a loss. So, but I do think, if we look at yen across the board here, right, yen is the weak, it was one of the strongest pairs yesterday. It's one of the, well, it is the weakest. It's down on absolutely everything, so I'm kind of hoping that we, get a little bit of a continuation up. We're obviously well, we're not even really trending if you think about it. It's been pretty horrible price action there, this, but I think there is more chance of this coming to the upside here. So that's obviously what we're focusing on today. We got obviously the dollar here, breaking above. As long as we're trading above, I think as long as we're trading above sort of 97s are kind of first barrier we need to watch out for, but I think we'll be looking to be a bit bullish as long as we're trading above this area here. So we'll wait and see how this one plays out. Does anyone have any questions? Uh, Anyone have any questions? Thomas, Dan, you mentioned the other day you were going to add a module to your course. When will that be? I'm gonna chase them actually because I've recorded it. They just need to add it on. That's all. So yeah, they just need to add it on. Does anyone have any questions? Any more for any more? Norby, how's the copier? I stopped it. I want us to learn properly. Mine didn't end up too bad, but yeah, it isn't something that I want to continue with. What we are looking to continue with is potentially a gold, like a very, very high risk copier, but more of like a bit of fun. So more of like a challenge copier. So a day of maybe turning like 100 into 1K or something like that. I don't mind doing stuff like that because it's a bit fun. And obviously, as long as everyone's aware, of how high risk it actually is, then yeah, we're obviously all good. But that's something that's something that we're potentially looking into. But I'm happy, like we've obviously got everything very very easy. We've got zones, we got triggers, so yeah, it's I try and obviously make the trading as easy as I can. I know that everyone just wants a copy, and obviously that is this industry. It's a plague of this industry, and then that's what's changed from probably 12 years ago when I started to obviously, now. 12 years ago, you had to obviously pay like for 5K to obviously, learn. And now there wasn't half the information. Like you would never get what I offer, back back in those days, back in those days. But now it's this culture, and I think I blame ads. I blame everything. Like how people can believe that you can never work another day in your life and buy just hook up to a copier from a guy who's like 12 and he's saying he's making all his money. But yeah, Norby, do you think gold in from 2026 uh will trade this big moves 1,000 pips in 5 minute candles? I don't know. I mean, gold is always going to pump. It doesn't matter what anyone tells you. If there's any turmoil, people buy gold. All right, it's that's never going to change ever. All right, it's not going to change. Gold, I always say this. No one ever zooms out, but monthly, gold will always trend to the upside. All right. It always has, it always will. And I think as the world's, getting obviously more and more problems, I think yes, it is always gonna carry on trending. There is nothing to replace it. We've obviously, you've got everyone knows how important oil is. Oil's a little bit of a, safe haven, but because it's controlled, it's not. Gold is controlled a bit. I mean, I've done a bit of research in the gold souk market. They do control gold, like diamonds are controlled, but obviously it's a lot harder because it's been around for such a long time. So I don't think gold is probably going to come back into this area. This year. But yeah, I can see that but basically there is probably more chance of gold hitting, 6,000 than it is hitting, four. All right. That's how you've got to kind of look at it. So then you could square it up a bit like what we've been doing here. You got obviously this half of the scenario here and this half of the scenario here. And it's probably 80%, 20%, So as long as you're in this half here, you've got more chance of obviously it coming up, up here. But I would always recommend for people to buy Bitcoin to buy gold, as opposed to Bitcoin. I actually, although I've got some Bitcoin, I'm actually gonna come out of it on this next pump if it happens. I just don't like it. I don't like how controlled it is. I don't like how you don't hear about it for ages and then it's all over everywhere. So I'm not. I'm just think it's crazy. So yeah, I might flip into having some gold instead. But yeah, right. If there's no more questions, I hope you guys have obviously enjoyed it. We've obviously had nice steady week this week. We haven't had a red day, so that's obviously another one out of the way. We've got two more. And then yeah, well have smashed it. But no, well done. I have some really good feedback from everyone about how like yesterday they might have blown their account or so lots and lots of good feedback. And I think that sometimes you got to remember how far you've come, because there's a kind of a course you have to go through. You obviously, if you've been losing money, you're not just going to do this. All right, you're going to do this, go sideways for a bit, and then that curve, slowly starts to come up. So no, well done to everyone, and yeah, I'll keep you updated in the groups. Have a great Friday. Let's make sure we have a good one.